Hey guys, back again. So let's continue with this, and I'm going to go to my CSS, and we already have this. We're using poppins already, so I'm going to add body everything. So we're going to start right away. Transition. I'm going to use the height. So what this is going to do is going to select everything inside the body tag and add a listener for the transition, for the height transition. So if we change the transition, sorry, if we change the height of the elements, this is going to check for that and add a kind of animation onto those elements. So let's say 400 seconds, which is 400 milliseconds, and is seen out. So it's going to be a smoother animation in the start and in the end. So it will not look linear with the same speed in every stage of the animation. So the container, class container, because we have that, we're going to say width 80% and margin, because we're going to center that 0 auto. And you can see we have this looking a little better. Of course, we're going to change this. Remember also that the design built in Adobe XD is for 1920 and 1080. So that is the display size of that design, and I'm working with a 1368 and 760 or 720. I think I can remember the display size. So the first part of this design is going to be for 1920 and 1080. So if you have one, my second monitor is that size. So if you have a 1080p monitor, you can design this in that monitor and you will see the changes and how it looks. So yeah, and once we add the media queries, we will start seeing in this screen size the things will work a little better. Okay, so just bear with me. Now we're going to say menu width is going to be sorry, not width, display none, because we are not going to display the menu bars, the hamburger now. So we're going to say display none. We're going to check the size later in order to display it. So the navigation is going to be width 100%, display flex, justify content in order to center this. Sorry, no, in order to move it to the size, so space between. Height is going to be 80 pixels because we have defined that inside the design, the Adobe XD design, but we can actually leave it out so we can see how this looks. It will be height auto actually, and align items is going to be center. So let's save this and let's see, because this is going to go okay here. We will move that in a second. Now nav UL, let me just scroll down so I don't lose track. List style is going to be none, and padding is going to be 0 pixels. Nav UL list A, so I think you should be following along with what I'm doing. If not, well, a little explanation is that we're going to select every UL that is inside the navigation, and in this one we're going to select the anchor, which is inside a list, which is inside a UL, which is inside a navigation, a nav. Okay, So that is how CSS works. We're going to go from parent to child in order to select the component that we want or the element. So color is going to be white or this creamish kind of color, and text decoration is going to be none, so we're going to remove the underline that it has by default. So let's save this and let's take a look. You can see how this looks. It's going to look a little well, looks good. So right now let's go to, so let me just scroll down a little bit, navul first of type. So the first UL inside this nav, and then we're going to go inside the list and inside the anchor. So we're going to select the anchor inside the list inside the first UL, which is where our logo is going to be, but right now it's only text. So font size, so I'm not going to right now build logos and things like that for this kind of designs, because it's, would be a waste of time. Font weight, so font weight is going to be bold. So let's save this and let's see how this looks. You can see it looks bigger. Navul last of type, so we're going to get now the last UL inside the navigation and select the list item and say display inline block, and we're going to add a margin right of 60 pixels. So it's going to move everything from the right 60 pixels. But you can see we have some spacing here that we're going to fix in a second. So let me do something that you might actually do, because I can't remember where I learned this. So let's say border 1 pixel solid red, just in order to see where this component is. So you can see the border, and you can see now that we have a space here that shouldn't be. So actually I'm going to say that I want a little bit more, let's say 80. Yeah, that should be right, and we can change that later if we want. So we already have that. So let's say navul last of type, and the list last of type again, the last list inside the last UL that is inside a navigation, a nav, is going to have the margin 0. Margin 0. So it's going to remove that space and it's going to shove this to the right. So you can see that. Now we're going to go and, well, let me check. We have some things to do. Okay, we need to select the thing which is the shapes. Okay, but you know that my names are kind of shit, so usually I don't give too much thought when I'm building this. I'm just going to say whatever comes to mind as the name of the class or variable. So minimum width 100%. So the position is going to be absolute. The seed index, now that it has a position, we can change the seed index. So we send it all the way to the back with ~1. The top, no, like that. The top is going to be less 25 pixels, and the left is going to be 0 pixels. So let's save this and let's see how this looks. You can see this SPG now is in the back of the rest of the elements. Now let's go to the designers and say width is going to be 40%. So just let me explain something. This is not mobile approach. Okay, we're just setting this into the desktop and then moving down to the rest of the sizes that we want to check. Later we will go and start building landing pages using the mobile approach, mobile first approach. So don't worry about that. Even well, the mobile approach is simpler and it's easier than what we're doing here. But for that, you will need to start with a design or an idea of the design and how it's going to look in the mobile device. Okay. So with 40%, maximum width is going to be 798 pixels. So this is going to match my other SPG that I used in the other example, the preview that you saw. Minimum width is going to be 570. Although this image is in a different size, let's try to match that. Height 630 pixels. Again, the position is going to be absolute for this one. The right is going to be 100, not 100%. Let's even say 10%. Let's see how that looks. It was 100 pixels, but let's use 10% so see to see how it looks. And top is going to be 30%. So remember that this one is going to look odd here because this is for 1920 by 1080 displays. Okay, so if I move this to my other screen, I can see how it's looking. Now in designer, so let's go, just scroll down a little bit there so I can see better. Header div, so we're going to check the div inside the header and say width is going to be 63, I think, percent. Is that right? Yep. Now maximum width is going to be 800. All these measures are something that I defined by looking at how it was the design was looking inside the browser. So this is not something that you just come up right away, so you need to test a few times. So minimum width is going to be 60, I mean 60, no, 600 pixels. Header div, paragraph, font awesome, why I say font awesome? Font size 18 pixels, line height 35 pixels, and the width is going to be 80% because this paragraph is inside a div and the div now has a 63%, so the 80% is not going to be the header but in relation with the div that we have with 63% of width. So did I save that? Yep. So if I move it, okay, now, okay, I didn't want to click that. Let's continue. So you can see these changes. We're going to set the font bigger in a second for the header, for the H1, which is this one, header div H1. So we're trying to be as specific as we can with this CSS. Padding top is going to be 20%. Line height is going to be 35 pixels. Sorry, not 35, but 65. I was looking at the paragraph still, and margin is 0 pixels. So let's save this and let's see how this looks. Okay, you can see it moved down. Sorry, this is not line height but font size. Okay, so we can see it looks bigger, but of course this is for the 1920 by 1080, so it's not going to look right here in this screen size. Okay, but if you are testing in another in that size of a screen, you will see that it looks better, even though we can change the line height. But let's just leave it there, so we could change the spacing between this. But let's just leave it there. You can do it if you want. CTAs, the call to actions, div is going to be margin top 50 pixels, display flex, CTAs, class, CTAs, anchor, and now we're going to select the anchors or the links inside the CTAs, which are the ones you cannot see. Okay, these ones. In order to change those, so we're going to say font size 16 pixels, width 160 pixels, display is going to be flex. If you don't know much about flexbox, we will do a video later. I think it should be the right thing to do, but right now just use flex. I've been using flex in all these designs, so to try to make it more responsive. So text decoration, I already have text decoration, I think, so let's move it out of the way because those are still anchors. If not, well, I think I have it, but only for the, so let's say text decoration none. We could add a global style for the anchors, but we're not going to do that right now. Padding, where is padding? Okay, it's going to be 18 pixels. Justify content, we can use justify content because we're using display flex. It's going to be center. This is to center the items inside, because remember that we have the text and the icon inside those anchors, those links. So align items, center to, and border radius is going to be 40 pixels. Okay, and now we will not be able to see anything, so let's say trial, because we have the classes on those two links. It's going to be background, EEE, and margin right is going to be 40 pixels. Okay, so let's see how this one looks. Okay, so you can see how this looks. Of course, if I move this, it looks better in the other size. It doesn't look crowded. Here it looks crowded because this is not the correct display size that we want. So we have trial, and let's go to the last one, that learn more. So it's going to be border 1 pixel solid, and this creamish whitish color, and the color of course again is going to be this whitish color, and you can see how this looks. So let's go and remove the border for the container, and we can see how this looks. Of course it looks crowded, that's why I said that we are going to move some things using media queries, but again if you move this to a 1920 by 1080 display, it's going to look right. It's going to look better with more spacings. Okay, so I think we're going to leave this part here, and let me just check. Well, this is kinda, no, I think we're going to continue. Okay, so we're going to continue. Sorry, we're not going to finish this one. We're going to continue, and let me just check this, because we're going to start adding the media queries. So let me just copy, or let's type it. Media only screen and maximum width 120 1270 pixels. So we're going to try to match this kind of small screens size, and in order to set a new style, we need to say designers. So we're going to move designers to the right, less 20%. So let's save this and let's see how this looks. So on the screen, maximum width of, sorry, this is not the first one. So let's just go back and let's type another one. So this is not going to be displayed because, okay, let's go and say, so this is the actual size. You can see this is moving to the right, less 20%. So we cannot see the rest, but we are not going to get the scroll bar because it has a overflow hidden. But that is a smaller size, and you can see how this looks. Okay, how this is going to be pushed. So we need to now grab this size, which is going to be media only screen and maximum width of, sorry, width of 1600 pixels. So 1600 pixels. And again, we're going to grab the designers and move it. So we're going to say top 20%. So we're going to move it a little upwards. Header, we're going to just change the header div paragraph and the h1 in these screen sizes. Font size is going to be now 18 pixels. Line height is going to be 35 pixels, and the width is going to be 65%. Now let's go to header div h1. Let's say padding top 14%. Font size, I'm using percent in order to make this a little more responsive. Okay, so font size 45 pixels. We will see later how to add some responsiveness into the font size, but that will be another video. Margin is going to be 0 pixels, I think. Yes. So let's see how this looks. You can see that it looks smaller right now. So yeah, you could also change these two buttons in order to make them smaller, but I'm just going to leave it there. And let's say, let's add one more media query. So after this we will finish this part of the tutorial. So let's just do this. Just let me copy that, because this is four kind of tablet sizes for maximum width of 9.99. Sorry, I need another one up here. So you can see this is going to take a bit of work in order to set all the correct styles that we want. So we are going to add another one on the screen for maximum 1000 pixels, and we're going to display the designers, or we're going to stop displaying that. So if I say F12, this is moved 20% to the right, and if I go, you can watch here the number as I go down, and you can see when we have 1000 it disappears. And okay, that is how I'm going to manage this. I'm not going to check for the image, to reposition the image and all that, so that will take more work. So I just took the easy route there, and let's add the next code. So this one is going to be actually the last one for this video. So let's say container. You can see why usually people don't do this kind of projects or this kind of videos explaining the responsiveness using media queries, because it takes a little bit in order to do it, and usually people just do videos displaying how to do something, and that's it. They don't explain, most of the people don't explain what they are doing, so it's mostly for the views. So with 95% of the div, so it's going to take almost all the size that we have in these screen sizes. Text align center, so we're going to move everything to the center, and minimum width is going to be 0 pixels, so we break the minimum width that we had before. Margin 0 auto in order to center this, to center the div in the document. Now let's say header div p, and say font size 16 pixels with 70%, just like that. And margin, we're going to add some margin to the top and bottom, that is going to be 40 pixels, and the left and right is going to be auto. So it is going to still be centered. Header div h1, font size, we're going to move the font size and lower it down to 30 pixels, and the CTAs is going to be justify content center, and let's see how this looks. So if we go down, you can see that everything is moved to the center, and it looks better, filling the spacing we had there. So of course it's messed up when we reach this mobile size, but right now is actually doing fine. So yes, we're going to leave it here and continue for the mobile design in the next video. So again, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.